Okay, we don't have Brent or Garrett yet, right? Still not there. Okay, Janet? Janet's and I? Okay, and Gail?
Yes.
Yes, okay, good. Then the second thing we need to do is approve the minutes. Actually, we need to approve the consent agenda next. So we're gonna go through that roll again. Chris?
Aye.
Emily?
Aye.
And Barbara?
Aye.
Sharon? Sharon? Okay, I see you. You're doing what I was doing earlier. Janet?
Aye.
And Gail?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, good. We need to approve the statistical report, apparently. Let me,
That's all under the consent
was
agenda.
that in the consent agenda? Is good. So, okay, we've covered that in that one. Okay. Then let's see, do we have any public comment period today? Any public comments today during our period? No one for that. Okay, good. Well, let's jump right into the reports, and it looks like we've got Ruth with us, right? For
Yeah.
Friends? Okay. Ruth, why don't you just jump right in and fill us in on Friends activity?
Okay, well, we, as many people have, we have kind of slow business going on these days. So we have canceled our meeting for this evening, which was just an executive committee meeting. Our membership letter is going out to this week. And I hope you all will be receiving yours, and we'll consider giving funds to the Friends. We are looking at renewing our contract with Virginia Business Systems for the design copier that we provide for, the Friends provide this for graphic design use and for all the printed materials that is used throughout the library system. The giveaway things, the little bookmarks, all that material. This will require a little bit of an update of software and possibly some equipment on the end of the library system. So I hope that, I know this report is going to be coming to Scott, but hopefully that will get supported through the system. And then our board member, Kelly Kyle, her husband, and Sharon Fuller volunteered yesterday, and they have installed library holiday decorations and lights in the library park.
Oh, nice.
So that has been done.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Good.
And that is my report. Does anyone
Okay.
have any questions?
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any plans to accept donations anytime soon?
No, we do not have the capacity, and because we were just about ready to have a book sale when the library shutdowns were happening and we aren't able to have a book sale, we are packed to the gills.
Okay,
And we just cannot take them at this time.
okay.
As well as there isn't staff at the library to be able to be there at the library, and we can't have our volunteers there at all times. So
Okay.
sorry about that.
Understandable, Ruth. Thank you. Other questions for Ruth? I just wanted to real quickly mention Clay is often part of that report, and I see we've got Clay over in the bottom right-hand corner of my screen. I'm not sure where he is on everyone's, but it's nice to see Clay back. So thank you.
Good to be back.
I hope things have worked out for you. We're looking forward to having you back post some of the pandemic issues and things.
Thank you, sir.
Sure, absolutely. We don't seem to have Garrett yet. Barbara, do you want to?
Oh, he's coming in. He just got let in.
Okay. So Barbara, Garrett, and Scott and I all talked a little bit ago and about the finance. So Scott, you're listed on here as, well, no, you're not on this. Just, yeah, you are.
I can help with that. I do have a brief foundation report if you
Oh,
want me
I'm
to.
sorry. I got down one line. Yeah, let's go ahead. If you could do foundation, and then your admin report before we jump to that one. Mhm.
Yeah, I'll promise to be brief. This morning we had a finance committee meeting on the foundation and reviewed the audit. And that's still in draft form and will get approved and hopefully be distributed for discussion at next week's meeting. The full foundation will meet next Thursday, I believe.
Wednesday.
Next Wednesday for a full meeting, and there'll be more discussion there. The annual fund letter that the foundation usually does this time of year has been completed and put out. The development committee was able to put that together. They used bamboo ink to generate the mailing, and then board members took 50 letters apiece and put stamps on them and signed them and sent them out. So those went out in the mail on, I hope, before Monday. So we anticipate those annual gifts starting to return by the end of this week. So that's a big fundraising initiative that they do every year at this time. So we have high hopes to have some good fundraising from that. So you'll be probably getting letters from that this week as well. So friends and foundation will be hitting you up. So hopefully we can all be generous. So that's essentially it. Annual fund. We had a finance committee meeting, and then next week is the full meeting. So
Okay.
where we're at with the foundation.
Good. You want to jump into your admin report then?
Yep. Were there any questions from the written report I had in the regular report? I guess the best news I have is that we've been able to get our hiring process rolling. So we've interviewed and made selections for about 4 positions, and those are hopefully going to get the candidates will be approached and landed soon. We also were able to push 12 positions through. 8 of those were advertised yesterday, and a few more will be advertised on Sunday. So some of the highlight positions that got pushed through were the grant writer positions. So Karin's old position has now been will be advertised, and we'll be able to hire for that soon. As well as the library community services manager, full-time, the manager at Hull Street. We have a librarian position here at Maine that we'll advertise. We have a lot of paraprofessional technician positions that we're going to try and hire, and a couple of youth service associate at Broad Rock. So those are kind of a variety of the positions that we have that are going up.
But that's fabulous. You've been crippled by absent empty slots. So yep. I am enormously happy to hear that.
So what's happened is HR has improved some of their processes. And one of the things is that that Spark Hire thing where people can do a video interview. That is speeding the process along. So that's helping. It's a little bit more paperwork on the back end, but the front end, it's able to move things a lot faster. So computers.
I was going to say that should on the hiring put us in a little better shape by the time we get through some vaccines and things in the coming months and start opening some branches too.
Right. And the other thing is that
good timing.
Come January 1, the city looks at your personnel and they see how many people you have in seats, and then they start making their adjustments to your budget based on those numbers. So that's why we're really pushing to fill those positions as soon as
possible. Gotcha.
So that's kind of a big date. Computers by appointment here at Maine and in the branches is working pretty well. I've had a lot of concerns from branch managers that patrons who enter get a little lackadaisical and let their mask drop or take their mask off, or they're concerned that they're not following the COVID protocols, or they also need help. So they come in and they need help on the computer, and we just can't provide the help that we used to be able to give them. So that's something that they want to do that they're really kind of anguished that they can't do. So that's been a challenge with the computers by appointment. We've also seen an uptick in the computers by appointment. Henrico and Chesterfield closed down a lot of their inside access last week. So their patrons are being referred to us for computer access by appointment. So we've seen a quick increase in the last week over there. So we'll see how we'll manage that going forward. I think if the positivity rate keeps increasing, we'll have to look at it and see if it's something we can continue.
Regardless of that, on the positivity, Scott, you're not looking at stopping the curbside though.
No, curbside has been working well, and both Henrico and Chesterfield are still in curbside. Most libraries throughout the state and country are working through curbside. It's just they've had to dial down those interior services because of the increases. So we're paying attention to it, and if things get too dramatic, we might have to dial that back. So, so COVID front, hiring, yeah, those are kind of the highlights. We're just getting ready for the holidays. I mean, I appreciate the Friends of the Library decorating our park. We're going to try and do some more lights around. We can't do our usual festivity decorations, but you know, maybe our curbsides can get some garland or some poinsettias on the tables.
That's it. Okay.
In general,
thank you, Scott.
we don't have anybody in quarantine, and we don't have anybody exposed right now, so we've been good with that.
Good.
That's good.
Any questions for Scott? Okay, I'm going to jump in. Chairman report. I don't have a lot to report. I think, you know, I'd say first off that I'd like to compliment Scott and his staff. They've done a nice job with the increasing positivity rates and everything else, of keeping everyone well staffed, dealing with the overflow that we're getting from Henrico and Chesterfield right now. It's heartening to see that we're still seeing circulation, depending upon branches, you know, in the 40 to 75% kind of range. So, and 60 plus overall, 60 something overall. So I think that really shows that we're doing a good job of meeting some of the needs, and that there really is a demand, which should help as Scott and the finance team go forward with pushing the budget a little bit. Second thing I wanted to mention is we've talked about the Friends and the foundation. Last month, I guess it was last month, we had a meeting with sort of joint meeting with some of the leadership on each of those three groups, two groups plus ours. And, you know, I thought it went very well. I might ask Chris, it was interesting. We had, because of open meeting rules, we could only have two from the Board of Trustees on there at any one time. So in the meeting. So Emily and I sort of tag teamed, and Chris stayed in on the entire meeting. So she probably has the best handle on it. I'll mention quickly that it reminded me that we have, as a group here, the board, we've been very focused on getting through COVID and keeping things running, supporting Scott and his team as we can. Still moving forward with things like the facilities efforts and so on, but that we really also as a group, when we can, need to probably get back to the strategic planning aspects of things a little bit more. I don't know if that's going to happen much until we get into January, February.
Right.
You know, we'll see how we're getting together and things at that point. But that's one of the big things. I will say that I was very impressed with the leadership of both of the other boards. I've met many of them in the past, but they are really dedicated, devoted to doing what is good for RPL. And I think we all need to work together as well as we can on that. And Chris, do you want to jump in and talk about anything with that?
Let me say you got the big points, and just a few smaller things. The foundation was the one who called all of us together, and we appreciate their initiative. While our board has a very different role, as does Ruth and the Friends. We all do different pieces of the puzzles. I found our value systems to be exactly aligned. Whereas I think we'll have different visions of the future because we have different roles. We all want a future and a strategic plan that just strengthens RPL in every way possible. So I found it an excellent first step. We have, once we get through the pandemic, big issues coming up. I'm glad we're all sitting at the table because one-on-one It's not necessarily 2. It can be 200. It can be, we can do much more working together than we can individually. So kudos to the foundation, kudos to the Friends, and I'm really glad to have had an opportunity to be part of it.
Okay, thank you. Any questions before we go on to Garrett and finance? Nope. Okay, Garrett.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. Hope everyone is doing well and had a great Thanksgiving holiday. Again, thank you for passing it over to me to talk about finance. So the finance committee, we held our first meeting today, and that was with Barbara and Scott and Bill. And we had a really good conversation to talk about exactly what the budget is going to look like from a proposed perspective. I don't know if we want to get into necessarily the details of what the proposed budget would look like, but we're asking for a return back to our budget amount from FY 2020. And again, we had a proposed budget in FY 2021. And then of course that was amended because of COVID-19 and the pandemic. So we did see a significant reduction in our overall budget that was allotted to us. But some of the key things that we talked about during our discussion is that the true need to get back to the FY 2020 budget is because, of course, we want to return our hours for Sundays. We also want to increase our hours back to what they were pre-pandemic. And then we also want to make sure that we have enough dollars in the budget to provide additional staffing to account for the recent vacancies that we've seen. So I think, again, it's going to be critically important that, as Board of Trustee members, that we're contacting our elected officials on City Council. And I know we have a few new representatives that will be joining us in January. So I think it's gonna be critically important that we're talking to them, educating them on all the amazing work that all of our libraries are doing day in and day out to provide amazing resources for the citizens of the city of Richmond. And we can definitely circulate some talking points to help you through that process. So if anybody comes to you and they want to provide or learn more information about how the dollars are broken down, Scott volunteered to be an amazing resource for us to walk people through that. But then also I can also provide you just the contact information for the City Council representatives in each of the new districts as well.
Okay, great.
I've had the opportunity to connect with a lot of them already, just to kind of put out my fillers because I work with a lot of them in the community. But I think, the more we can connect with them, the more we can talk about the amazing things that are happening and how those dollars will be put to amazing use as soon as we receive them. I think the better off we're going to be as we go into next year.
Can I add something to that, Garrett?
Sure, absolutely.
I think my advice is to meet with, if you don't know your council person already, to meet with them now before you have to ask for money. Absolutely. So that you have developed a relationship with them. They know that you're representing them and their district. You're going to keep them informed. You learn about what they think about the library. And it's with that relationship that you can then, during budget season, talk to them and say, we talked earlier, you told me these things were important to you. Man, this budget delivers on that. What do I have to tell you to convince you to support us? So let's not wait till the budget is in play to make those connections. Let's begin in whatever way each of us is comfortable, whether it's a phone call, a meeting, an email, an official letter. Let's start to develop that. Garrett's already done it. Kudos, Garrett. But the rest of us, food for thought.
I think that's an excellent point. Real quickly, if we're going to do that, I'm going to ask if everyone could sort of run through what council district you're in. And with that also, if you have any particular contacts of council districts outside of yours, just to get an idea of who's where. I'm in the 1st district, and I know Andreas, so happy to talk to him. Chris, where are you?
I'm Catherine Jordan's district, District 2.
Okay. Okay. Emily?
I'm in the 5th district, so Stephanie Lynch's, and I have had contact with her liaison, Amy Robbins, but I've not spoken directly with
Good job, Emily.
That's great. That is. Okay. And Barbara.
I'm in the third we have Ann Lambert.
Okay.
I have not met her, but this I like the idea of making the contact prior to meeting to talk
Mhm.
about the budget.
They
Good
make
idea.
sense when you think about it. Yeah, yeah.
It does. Sharon?
I'm in the fourth.
Fourth.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yeah.
can.
Okay.
Okay. And Brent's not with us. Garrett?
I'm in the fourth.
You're in the fourth also. Okay. And Janet?
Fourth district, and I've spoken to Kristen Larson a number of times.
Good job.
Okay.
Of course you
And
have
Gail?
Janet.
Gail?
Oh, Gail, I'm in the second.
You're in the second.
And just, could I make a couple comments?
Yeah.
We lost Parker Agelasto on council. He was a huge library supporter, particularly at budget time. Andreas, used to work in libraries. Did you know that?
I did, yeah.
And so we might tap him as a future, contact to try to get on board for things.
Yep.
I addressed 1,000 envelopes, excuse me, for Catherine Jordan in the campaign. So we've made contact already about libraries and my role. So
good. Okay. So we've got a little bit of overlap, which I sort of expected, and we can talk about that. I think both Sharon, Garrett, and then Janet, yeah, y'all are on the fourth there, that each of you probably should touch base with Kristen. I mean, she's an easy one to approach and to work with, I think. She's always been supportive, but just let her know that you're one of the library board of trustee reps from her district, and that she happens to have the most well-represented district. But she should get to know y'all. It's a good thing. And I think the same is true. Fifth, we've got, well, the second, we've got a couple in.
Yeah, Gail and I.
Gail and you, and the same holds true there, I think.
Yeah.
First, second, I think we're pretty okay there. I mean, the first and third. Okay, so we do not have anyone for 6, 7, or 8 right now from those districts. Does anybody know the, and I'm terrible, I should know who the winners were in the election on each of these, and I just didn't jot them down to be ready. I saw that Reva pulled hers out, so I guess that's the 9th, right?
Yeah.
I know Cynthia Newville and I own property in the 8th as well, so
You do,
I'm familiar
okay.
with Reva.
Okay. Sharon, I might ask you to touch base then with those. Okay. Any
Bill?
others?
I was just going to say, I will ask the same of our Friends Board and to do the same with contacting. I happen to live in, I always forget, the 7th district. Cynthia Newville is my council member.
Excellent.
But I'll get the Friends on that too.
Okay, that sounds good. So I think it is important, as Janet suggested, people make contact with them. Or whoever, I think it was Janet, right? Anyway, but that we also pretty quickly, maybe right after the January or at the January meeting, that we have talking points that are clear, consistent. Gail did an excellent job of putting that together a couple years back. And I think, it really helped to have a consistent message to that. So there are going to be different ones, obviously, this time, but we'll work on that. And I'll just ask everyone to think about that a little bit. And then Scott and his staff can look at it. That'll be obviously swayed a little bit by what happens in budget negotiations between now and then, as well as some of the other things going on with COVID and various things. But that's great. Okay. Anything else from Garrett or Scott? Do you have anything to add on finance or Barbara?
I think Garrett did an excellent job of reiterating what we discussed in our meeting, how our tactic is for this year, restore funding to FY20 levels and restore the COVID crisis cuts that had to be made, the reductions that had to be made. And so what we, our whole goal is to try and restore what COVID took.
Right,
So,
right, right.
So we're actually looking, what you're estimating, this is maybe 300,000 to 400,000 above what they're, you
Yep.
know, sort of thinking. But it's still well below what we were going into COVID or the
That's
year
right.
before. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Facilities. I'm not sure who's prepared to cover that. Anyone want to jump forward? Janet, that's sort of your, but I don't know. Okay, Scott, do you want to talk about it a little bit?
So we're still working with procurement to get the evaluations through for the RFP.
Mhm.
So we have prepared all the paperwork. It's sitting in their inbox, and they're the ones who need to contact the selected vendor and begin negotiations with me and capital projects to move it forward. So we've narrowed it to two top. I can't announce those at this time because it hasn't been properly notified in like public channels. But that's where we're at on that.
Scott, I would add that those two, the first and the second one in that group are both ones that you feel could do a good job. Just a question of budget, really. Small differences in capabilities or possibly some different things there. But either one we'd be happy with. So we're at the point now where we're actually looking pretty good on that, I think.
Yeah, I mean, the original RFP started with 16. We narrowed it to 4. All 4 were dynamite firms. I think all of them could do a great job. The 2 that we've landed on, I think are also dynamite firms. They'll do a great job. Now the next piece is negotiating a cost and getting a contract in place and then beginning the work.
Yeah.
So
okay,
that's what we await.
Great. Any questions on facilities? No. Okay, let's jump into governance. Emily, did you have anything you wanted to bring up?
Nope, no updates for governance.
Okay. I might touch base with you on 1 or 2 things offline, but that's great. And I'd like to point out that Emily is carrying water on both shoulders there. She's doing governance, but she's also liaison to the foundation. And I appreciate her taking Saturday morning with childcare having fallen through also, and meeting with the foundation and the Friends group that morning. So thank you. Okay. New business. I'm going to skip over the unfinished business, possible discussion of one person, no vote, and run quickly to the 3 items of new business that we have. The first one is our meeting dates for 2021, calendar year 2021. We saw them attached. Any questions on those? No. Okay. I was pleased Scott and his team are coming through with a very positive, optimistic view, and they've got us in person everywhere at alternating branches. We hope back to that. It isn't going to be in January, but the dates are good, and the locations will either be virtual or those locations as possible. Let's take a quick vote if we could. Okay, meeting ones. Chris.
Aye.
Emily.
Aye.
Barbara?
Aye.
Sharon?
Aye.
Okay, Brent's not there. Garrett?
Aye.
And Janet?
Aye.
And Gail?
Aye.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Then the next piece of new business we have is the holiday schedule for the library. And that was also sent out along with some notes about it, I think, and that Scott put in there about adjusting if Sunday hours are reinstated as far as the 26th next Boxing Day, the day after Christmas next year, right? Any questions on those? Any issues? Was somewhat locked into the city schedule on most of that. So Scott, do you expect anything that the mayor is likely to suddenly announce additional days that we don't know about in there?
Yeah, it's always a problem.
Yeah. I mean, he always will jump on day before Thanksgiving, like this year he let us out at noon again. Or, so that's the one that he'll usually do. Sometimes 4th of July falls on a weird day. So this year it's on July 4th, or it's on Sunday.
On the 4th.
When it's on Sunday, then it gets observed on Monday. But, do we stay open on Saturday? That's always a question.
Okay. Do we want to just decide that we will adjust to those as needed? That's sort of your view, and let's go ahead and approve it as stands right now. Nothing that we need to adjust in the current schedule. Unless you want to look at things like that Saturday, which would be the 3rd of July.
Yeah, I would rather look at that as we get closer to that holiday and see how it goes. I mean, who knows what's going to happen with COVID times? So let's hope that we're back to normal. I think as it stands right now, it looks pretty good.
Okay, then I'm going to call for a vote on that one also. Chris?
Aye.
Emily?
Aye.
And Barbara?
Aye.
Sharon?
Aye.
Garrett?
Aye.
Janet?
Aye.
And Gail?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So this year, we need to approve or discuss at least and hopefully approve the closing our branches on the day after Christmas for this calendar year. So it's extending the winter holiday break a little bit. Personally, I don't see that as a big issue. Boxing Day is not a giant library day. And in addition, branches aren't really that open.
We're only open 1 to 5 that day. So
right. And it's just outside pretty much. So, but we do need to take a vote on that one again. So any questions, or can we go ahead and put it to vote? No. Okay, Chris?
Aye.
Emily?
Aye.
Barbara?
Aye.
Sharon?
Aye.
Garrett?
Aye.
Janet?
Aye.
Hello.
And Gail?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Yes.
That's pretty much everything that I had. I'm going to wrap around. We've got a few minutes. We're running actually quicker than we sometimes do, a little bit earlier, and see if anybody would like to talk about One Person, No Vote. The second book that we passed out this year, it's the VCU Common Read, I believe. And it's an interesting book, I'll say that.
I'd like to say something about it. So I read it, and then I heard Carol Anderson talk to VCU about it. And at the end of her talk, she made a comment. No offense, Bill and Scott and Clay, that when white men rule the world, all of your songs are sung by sopranos. All of the music is written for sopranos. But when you bring other people in, whether they're different colors, different genders, different cultures, then your music in your community and in your nation can be sopranos, baritones, tenors, and it's so much more diverse and richer. And she gave a great talk, and I thought it was a book that was very useful this year to have read.
Did anyone out, did other folks get a chance to read it yet even? I should have asked maybe if are we getting ahead of ourselves discussing it, but I thought it was really interesting myself, and Scott and I've had a couple of talks about it. I think I rattled Scott's chain a little bit early on when I started reading it. I found it, I thought it was a really well-written book in a lot of ways. I found the historical information in it very interesting. A lot of it's stuff that I think many of us knew, but it was put together in a really compelling narrative there. I think from somebody who, and if y'all haven't picked up, I am probably one of the more conservative members of the board right now, but, and I don't know, that's a hard one really to to classify, because I think there's so many things. I really don't like a right-left distinction in a lot of cases. But I found when I read it that I wished as I was reading it that there'd been just a little more even-handedness in some issues. Like I found her discussion of the Voting Rights Act, the court decision, the Texas case on that, a little off-putting, because I didn't think she recognized the legislative options there, the solutions, the ones that I personally happen to think are fairly straightforward and simple to deal with. So I just, like I said, the one thing I felt was that she could have kept it, made it more powerful to people who weren't already behind a movement to deal with voting rights issues, that she could have done more on that by acknowledging that there are many solutions here and that the courts on all of it, that it's not all intentional, and that there are, like I said, the Voting Rights Act, I think, Congress has been woefully inadequate since the Supreme Court's decision on the pre-clearance by not just saying, fine, we're just going to have all the states fall into pre-clearance, since the issue with it was basically, why should Virginia be under it? Why should parts of Washington State be under it, whereas not much of New York or, whatever. And that the, statistics don't show that, they hadn't shown why some states should be treated differently than others. Just treat them all the same. It's a simple solution, and our legislature just hasn't come together. So from my perspective, I'd have liked some of that. I was surprised by the ending a little bit, that I thought it was maybe the book is written to be an exhortation, but I did find the ending just a little bit strong on, laying down a gauntlet, which is unfortunate, because I'd like to think that so much of her research really could inform and resonate with a lot of people who fit into the center right or center left category. So anyway, that was my view. I enjoyed the book. At times, like I said, I found it very intriguing. Other times I found it a little bit frustrating, and sometimes I just found it enlightening as could be. So it was a good book, and Scott, I appreciate you bringing it to us as one for us to read.
Well, it was our staff and our partnership with VCU. I mean, I think they select some great books. The last 2 years, they've nailed it. I mean, They couldn't pick more timely topics for our community and our society in terms of what's going on. And I think they're doing their students a great service by choosing these books. And I think they did allowing us to partner with them and work with them. I think we surprised them in that we brought a lot to the table.
Yes.
We raised, with Evicted, that was huge. We brought folks around a topic and helped amplify and let more people know about something that is just a crisis in our community.
Yeah.
And this voting this year, what a time. I mean, again, we're still going through this. This is still playing out. And
we are.
I mean, I think we have to have books that our community wants to talk about or need to talk about. It's not us choosing the book, it's kind of the community driving that. And I think as a mirror of our community, I think we're doing our job well. Again, read up Richmond. That discussion was great.
I would mention that I thought the library, particularly with Evicted, and I was not able to go to Carol Anderson's talk, but I thought with Evicted, the library did a great job of bringing in the multiple perspectives that fit into that, from the tenant, from the legal aspect, from the landlord aspect, the lender aspect, all of the people who were impacted by that. So I thought on Evicted, that was really well done. A little bit easier probably to bring those multiple voices to bear when you can put them in the same room. Harder during the pandemic, it's made it harder for those kind of things. But you still did an excellent job of that with one person, no vote. Also, I thought so.
Right. Well,
I'm just going to add one thing, and that's another role I think the library plays very well, is people can come into a library on loaded, explosive issues, and they are, just because it's the library, going to have more civil discourse. So the fact that we're engaging some of these topics, selected very carefully and rigorously, presented hopefully with all sides, this is one of our roles, is to allow people to talk to each other and have courteous civil discourse.
Yeah. Right. I would agree completely. And I would just recommend to anybody who didn't get a chance to read it yet, and it's been busy for everybody these months, I know, but it is worthwhile. And once you get into it, it reads pretty quickly. So, any questions, any other comments about that, or anything else we need to touch on today? Okay, well, normally there is, I guess a friends, a foundation sponsored, whatever, little holiday get together. That is not happening this year. So unless there are committee meetings that Scott calls for, anything between now and the end of the year, I just wanted to wish everyone, first off, thank everyone for your great work this year. It has not been easy to stay on top of things with COVID. I know it's taken extra effort on everyone's part, but I also wanted to wish you a very happy Christmas and best wishes for beginning of a very much better 2021 than we've had in 2020 here. So, okay. Thank you, everyone. Go ahead and adjourn the meeting. No one else has any.
Let me also remind everybody, we have the poet Dinesh Smith here on Friday night. He is a very highly well-regarded poet. And I think just like these other authors and books we've talked about, this poet will raise your awareness and give you some perspectives and poetry that you maybe haven't been exposed to, but it will make you better if you are.
Okay, thank you. It's a good point.
Bill, may I just add one book topic issue?
Sure.
If anybody's interested in pandemics, The Great Influenza is an interesting read, somewhat academic, but I think well done. I am particularly interested in the topic. My family was dramatically affected by the 1918 flu. My grandfather was an artist. He actually illustrated the Mary Frances Garden book, which is in our special collections downtown, and was a commercial artist, and had to do in Philadelphia, where many of the ships from the war were coming back to the Philadelphia Navy Yard. And so there was a dramatic increase in the flu episodes there. And my grandfather died at 30 of the flu, at age 30. My grandmother was 26, and my father was the oldest of 4 at 10 years old. So it can really have an impact on a family. And wear your mask.
Yeah.
Gail?
Yes.
Thanks, Gail. I'm sorry, I stepped out for a second. Following on that one, I just finished a book. I blanked out for a minute, so I grabbed it to see, that I thought was really a fun, well, not fun, but a really interesting book to read during this time, which was Matt Richtel's An Elegant Defense, The Extraordinary New Science of the Immune System. So if anyone hasn't read that one, it's not quite like the Great Influenza book, but it still gives a lot of interesting information that I think really so much has changed since many of us went through, whatever basic science we took in high school, college, whatnot. Just remarkable what's gone on in that. And it sort of ties with where the vaccines come from and so on today so quickly. So another good one to read there. And Gail, thank you for mentioning that. I mean, my mother-in-law and I were talking about it, and it just reminded me, her grandfather died in the Great Influenza also. And it just really reminds me how well this country has come together over the years through some of that. And it's exciting to see how we're working through it today. But anyway, like I said, that's another good book if anyone's looking for something. And I don't know whether we have it in. I've got I bought a copy of it, or was given a copy of it rather. So I haven't checked to see whether we had that one in stock or not at the library. So, okay, we are together in January. Look forward to seeing everyone then.
Happy holidays.
Yes, indeed, everybody.
Thanks.
Happy
Bye.
holidays.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.